Welcome to another episode of Awakening Podcast, where I present to you a Chinese perspective on global geopolitical events. Tensions escalated between India and Pakistan recently due to the terrorist attack on April 22nd in India administered Kashmir, where 26 Hindu tourists were killed by local militants. Very tragic indeed. India blamed the attack on Pakistan-based terrorist groups, which lead to the Indian air raid earlier this week. In this video, I'm going to talk about both the military and political implication of this from a Chinese perspective. Let's start with military. It's a change. Chinese social media has been talking about tariff war with the United States every day for a couple of weeks now. This gave them something new to talk about. The Indian military is much bigger than the Pakistan military in all aspects. More ground troops, more combat vehicle, more tanks, fighter jets, more nukes. However, the performance of Indian Air Force during this military Operation Sindoor, seems to run into some trouble. The Indian Air Force used French-made Rafale. Is considered a fourth-gen fighter jet. Well, 4.5, one of the best in the world when it comes to fourth-gen fighter jets. Also, there are Russian fighter jets, Su-30, and also MiG-29s were used. The Pakistan side were armed with Chinese fighter jets, J-10 and JF-17. They also use some American fighter jets, F-16s. Now, according to Pakistan official figures, three French Rafale jets were shot down, along with one Russian Su-30 and one Russian MiG-29. Indian is refusing this claim, but it seems like we're getting more verification from Western media sources now that at least a few Indian jets did get shot down. According to Reuters, for example, here, Chinese make fighter jet brought down two Indian fighter aircrafts, according to US officials. Of course, military conflict carries the fog of war. I don't want to insist too much on the details, but the initial outcome of this engagement is definitely something worth talking about. First, air to air combat is rather rare these days, even in the Ukraine war. It is not often you get to see Ukrainian fighter jet going against Russian fighter jets, and definitely not at this kind of scale. In addition, aircraft from many major military manufacturing countries are represented here. The US made F-16s, Chinese made J-10, along with French and Russian fighter jets. With recent update, it seems like the Chinese made J-10 with its updated missile has superior tracking capability, enabling them to shoot down those Indian fighter jets. The funny thing here is, let me read this to you, okay? According to record, Pakistan purchased these Chinese fighter jet J-10 for about 39 million US dollar each back in 2021-2022. By the way, J-10 is also Gen 4 fighter jet, but theoretically speaking, it's not as good as the French Rafale. Also, Chinese military is phasing these fighter jets out for newer models, but still, 39 million US dollar each. That is pretty cheap by fighter jet standard. The French Rafale purchased by the Indians. Let me tell you guys how much they cost. It was a deal signed back in 2016 between India and France for 36 units, costing 7.87 billion euro, which comes down to something like 200 million per unit. That's like 4 to 5 times more expensive than the J-10 Chinese fighter jet. Of course, the detailed purchasing package is complicated. There are ammunitions, training, maintenance, maybe even some technology transfer included. But still, it's at least 4 times more expensive than the Chinese variants used in this operation. So basically, the budget Chinese Timu fighters outperformed the overpriced French Chanel, Dior fighter jets in this engagement. Something is not right here, or basically the Indians got ripped off. Oh, by the way, India, I believe, signed a new agreement with France to purchase an additional 26 Rafale fighter jets for its navy, valued at another 7.4 billion, delivered to 2030. Is there still an option to get out of that deal, maybe? Oh god, this is so bad for India. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below, okay? The Chinese social media definitely light up last couple of days. Not because of Pakistan beat India, but Chinese fighter jet defeated Western-made fighter jet, and also because Taiwan bought many French fighter jets and currently in use in their air force, Mirage 2000, I believe, which is worse than Rafale. So if India Rafale is having problem with Chinese J-10, then Taiwanese Air Force will have even bigger problem against more advanced Chinese fighter jets. Many Western analysts mentioned this as well, that the Chinese military equipment sold to Pakistan is downgraded. The PL-15 missiles has a range of over 300 kilometers, while the version sold to Pakistan, the export version, only has about 100 to 150 kilometers. So this is not even top of the line equipment from China. Now, I want to emphasize that I'm not a military expert, but this is what is going around currently in Chinese social media the last few days. Even the Chinese company who manufactured these fighter jets, their stock went up by 40%. Now, let's get to the political aspect of this. A short story first, okay? I had a friend, an older friend, who used to work for the Chinese intelligence service, special agent, like James Bond, literally, okay? He retired a couple years ago because he got poisoned during one of his mission and damaged his organs, kidney and liver. Now he just runs like a safe house somewhere in China. He used to tell me a story of his missions, and this is something not even Chinese know about, okay? China is a huge country. There's no way the central government can handle and manage everything everywhere at the same time. So usually the provinces run themselves. Central government don't step in unless there's some coordinated plan or some serious incident. For example, if some high-level Chinese official suddenly got stabbed to death, and the local judicial system hesitate to step in. Usually, it means that there is some kind of a power struggle somewhere in that place. And if this kind of incident got out into the social media, the Chinese government will try to censor it, of course, first step. And then someone like my friend here will be sent there to investigate, like FBI special agent, okay? Usually there's some kind of local godfather like figures, well respected elders, which my friend will approach first to try to figure out what's exactly going on. They will, most of the time, tell you what happened behind the curtain, and my special agent friend will then report to the central government and design a strategy to approach and solve the issue. He told me that most cities are pretty straightforward when conducting investigation, except for two. Okay, that is Shenzhen and Shijiazhuang. These two cities have the most complex power structure. Shijiazhuang is the capital of Hebei province, which is the province that surrounds capital of China, Beijing. It is equivalent to, let's say, Virginia surrounding Washington, D.C. So, a lot of powerful Chinese oligarchies, when they conduct private deals and negotiations, it is sometimes better to stay close to Beijing, right? Which is where most of the powerfuls are, but not exactly too close, where you might get unnecessary attentions and get into trouble. So, a lot of the negotiations and rivalries happen in the city called Shijiazhuang. And when sometimes violence breaks out due to maybe a failed negotiation, it is difficult to figure out who is behind what, which person represents which faction or power, whose proxy exactly is doing the dirty work here. So the matter is very delicate. When he conduct investigation, he needs to be extra careful in Sejadrong, and if the trace lead to someone extremely powerful, he needs to report immediately, even for his own safety. Same thing with Shenzhen. Shenzhen is an immigration city. People from around the country, around the world, go there for business. So it takes extra time. Things are very complicated there as well. Sometimes you don't even know if the incident is purely domestic or even foreign related, because Hong Kong is just next door, right? And that used to be a MI6 CIA nets with all kinds of NGOs. So when it comes to international political arena, Pakistan is one of those countries, just like the two cities I mentioned here in China. It borders India, China, Iran, and Afghanistan, all geopolitically sensitive neighborhood. The United States are very interested in all these countries. It is the corridor of China's Belt and Road Initiative, both for trade routes and energy route. Pakistan has a nuclear weapon, but it is also considered a minor country from a geopolitical sense. Usually, when one person wants to roughly understand a country's geopolitical alignment, you can start by figuring out what kind of weapons they use, where are they from. And you can tell if they are in the Western camp or French camp or Russian camp or Camp China just by figuring out where they purchase their military equipment. Pakistan is one of the few countries, maybe even the only country in the world, in which its army runs Russian, US, and Chinese equipments at the same time. Today's Pakistan brought most of its military equipment from China, like these Chinese fighter jets, but they also run US made F 16s and also run Russian made T 80 tanks. I think there are only few other countries like it, Egypt being one of them. China has invested heavily in Pakistan over the years. I think over 60 billion in energy infrastructures, road, ports, and telecom, and so on. And politically, China has consistently backed Pakistan on Kashmir-related issue in the UN. So Chinese-Pakistan relationship is very good, then you would say. Yes, but do you guys know that outside of China, Pakistan is one of the most dangerous country for Chinese government workers to operate in, because there are constant terrorist attack aiming at the Chinese projects there. Just last year, March 26, 2024, a suicide bomber targeted a Chinese convoy, killing many Chinese. October 6th, again, another suicide bombing attack. And many attacks happened even before that. The situation got so intense that Pakistan actually invited Chinese army into the territory to conduct joint counter-terrorist operation. It happened in November, mid-December, I believe, last year, 2024. Now, there are speculations that CIA was backing the terrorist organization there. It went all the way back during Afghan-Soviet War. CIA was heavily involved throughout the region of Afghanistan and also Pakistan, which is why I consider Pakistan to be one of the most complicated country in the world, political sense. Okay, since U.S. often use militant groups within the country to conduct operation against Iran, India, and China. Yet the country itself is friendly to China and the US at the same time. Crazy, isn't it? And US also provide intel to Pakistan and run joint operation against terrorists. Americans are very interesting creatures indeed. Furthermore, there are insider information that despite Pakistan is friendly to Russia today, it might have sold, I believe, 155 mm artillery shell to the United States through private companies. probably sent to Ukraine afterward against Russia. And then Americans also remember, Bin Laden was captured in Pakistan. That's the official narrative. So the general take on this incident from the Chinese perspective, I will summarize. All right, Pakistan does not have the kind of full control over its uh, entire country the same way some other countries do. It's not unique, or else it won't ask, Chinese troops to help fight terrorists within its border. And Chinese aren't mad at Pakistan because we know it is not their doing. There are other forces at play here. In fact, during an interview last month, Pakistan Defense Minister actually claimed that Pakistan had engaged in terrorist activities under the direction of the US and Britain. So I'm asking you guys why so many attacks against Chinese in those regions. Why don't the Chinese government just do what the Indian government just did? Just send the Chinese Air Force and start bombing the places. Because Chinese know that these things are probably not conducted by the official government. So, from Chinese perspective, India should also assume maybe this is not Pakistan at play here. Yet, India responded so aggressively with air campaign. To many Chinese, this is just India and Modi trying to play tough and transfer attention from domestic problems to the international stage and use this opportunity to rally support. And just for your information, China do not want to see Pakistan and India fighting each other right now. They are both in BRICS, and China is in the middle of a tariff war against US. So the last thing China wants is border trouble between these two nuclear armed neighbors. And currently, the Chinese government is not exactly vocal with this military clash between the two nations. It is just asking both sides to calm down. There are also conspiracy theory that this is some kind of 3D chess U.S. military industrial complex is playing. Get India to lose some fighter jets, French-made fighter jets, and soon India will purchase many fighter jets from Lockheed Martin at a premium. Of course, I mean it's not impossible, right? The most recent update is that the White House convinced both countries to a ceasefire agreement, but like I said, the situation might be more complicated than it looks. We just have to wait and see. Well, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Remember to like and sub. I will see you guys in the next video.